I'm Lexi Alma, and I'm here with my beloved sister and friend, Marcella Eversole. And we are here to have just a little chat, inviting you and filling you in on the details of our upcoming event called Resilient to the Bone. So we were just talking a little bit ahead, and our why is interesting. Marcella and I both have done a ton of work with groups and a lot of co-ed groups, and something rose in both of us around working with women specifically. And I lean into Marcella a lot for like, is this weird thing rising in me like part of the star system? And often it really is. And so Marcella is going to get to talk to us about like why this is rising in us. That's grounded in the cosmos. But we were both saying that, there's just something about the times that we're in. I would go so far as to say kind of the attack that the feminine is under, that so many women are feeling, whether we're feeling silenced or we're feeling like we're too much or not enough for the times that we're in. One of the things about gathering as women is A, it's ancient. B, that falls away. We're never too big for each other. And so we all get a chance to be right sized, which is actually an aspect of constellation work that maybe we can talk about. But being the right size means you can be yourself fully and do what's yours to do. And a lot of times we suffer when we get too big or when we get too small. And right this minute, we're living in a time when no matter what we do, we're not quite right. That's the message that we're receiving from the world outside of ourselves. So to write that, we need to gather. We need to find our fierceness, and we need to lean into the power of the elements that surround us that can match us. So that's my little rant. Marcella's head is nodding. You want to jump in and
Sure. I just really loved what you were talking about in terms of space and finding our way in space through the constellation work. And I just want to acknowledge that I was able to have my first constellation with Lexi in this last month. And it was really, really powerful to feel the way in which that work is grounded in both spatial positioning and also the ability to just speak to what's there. And I found it to be really powerful the way it moved energy, and I'm really looking forward to seeing actually how we can do that work on the land, especially the specific site that you were talking about and the history of that site and what's happened there. And just for those of you that haven't read any of the details, this is happening in July 17th to 20th in Port Orford, Oregon, on the wild Oregon coast. And the constellation work, for anyone that hasn't done it before, is a really, really deep practice that helps move energy in lots of different ways. And I don't know all about the origins. I really just got to experience one special way in which constellations can work. And I feel really inspired by the vision that Lexi was having around doing some constellation work on the land and a specific site that we'll be close to when we're meeting during the time of the retreat. But before I go too far down that track, the one piece that I did want to stitch in about the spatial relationship of feeling like we're too big or too small, to me, really lends itself towards the kinds of skills that we're learning to build right now. And I think for me, why I am feeling more drawn to women's work this year, which really, it's surprising me because I haven't been drawn to it for 20 years. I really love co-ed work. I really love the dynamics. I really love the way it feels. I love the wholeness I feel in myself when I'm in groups with multi-generational community and all people, however they identify, not gendered conversations. I'm really drawn to the not gendered conversations these days. However, I think I learn a lot of skills when I am also in circles in which a certain part of me lets down and I feel a kind of safety. that I don't always feel. So I think that's maybe why I'm feeling called to facilitate within this context of a women identified circle. And because for me, some of those skills do have to do with actually figuring out where I want to take up space and where I don't feel comfortable taking up space. I think it's harder for me to learn some of those skills in those mixed dynamics that are more complex. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Well, again, I mean, we're on the same page there. There is a way that we have so much to teach each other as women and so much to learn right now because of how quickly the culture is changing. And so creating space and time to be together. And it's like, work, constellation work, 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 work. But I want to emphasize that, we're going to do this really deep process together. But that the whole experience will have depth to it and importance, and there will be a tremendous amount of play. There will be space. There will be free choice and free will woven into everything, actually. But that just the medicine of the place and the time that we've chosen. So sort of high summer at the Oregon coast where the winds will be blowing, the sun will be blaring, we'll be able to swim and just live in our skin and in our bodies in a particular way. So constellation work is very embodied work. It's a chance to step in and out of different shoes, is a way of thinking about it, roles and representations, and some of which you'll resonate with and some of which will feel foreign, all of which will kind of change you all the way down to kind of your cellular structure. And so there's the individual, and then there's the group, there's the personal, and then there's the collective, and then there's the way that that will ripple out. And so Marcella was referring to an idea that came through a couple of weeks ago. Anytime I work somewhere, especially if it's not my home and my place that I'm already tending, I like to try to leave a gift to that place. And this idea of us as the culmination of our time, setting a constellation for the land. There's a particular spot in Port Orford where a genocide happened. And all over this country, genocides happened, and they're not well recorded. And this one is well recorded. And so I thought that would be a place to bring at the end when we're all juiced up and cups are full and really kind of in our powerful space, to invite a wider community to come and to set a constellation just to recognize that genocide, and to take our place in bearing witness to that through constellation work with our feet in the sand. So there's a way that we're going to come together. We're going to give to each other. People are invited to bring their skills and their passions. And so there will be open times when, if you're have an art form that you love or a skill that you bring, that you will have chances to offer that if you wish. Some may not. And so we'll give and take from each other and to each other and with each other. We'll feed each other. We'll be fed by each other. And then we'll take our last step towards giving a gift to the community and trying to offer sort of the ripple of what we've created in a wider way, right on the shore of the big, wild Pacific.
That's great. And the idea that we'll be so deeply connected to nature and our own inner natures through this process is really inspiring to me. we want to be a small, intimate group that can do this kind of navigating, because one of the astrological pieces that is feeling really strong at these times is how we actually learn the skills of how to negotiate between our inner natures and the outer natures. And so a group like this, when it's intimate and there's actually more choices given within the weekend context, and you're not just held by a very fixed structure, and not that we won't have clear plans and clear ways of operating, we are going to have that. However, once you add to that the acknowledgement that free time and the freedom of being able to navigate based on what is happening internally is like a very important skill that a lot of people are still very immature at practicing. And so it can be much harder in our lives where we have responsibility and different fears and things that come up around how we have to keep it together, that when we're in this kind of retreat space, there really is an opportunity here to look at how do we actually use time out of our lives, not just to create a peak experience that's like doing drugs, but actually create a living experience where you practice the things that you need to be bringing back into your life, so that the full expression of your nature is having more interface with your world. Because once that nature, that inner nature, is given the positive feedback loops it needs, and I'm sorry, my chair, as I get excited, starts to make a squeak. It helps to reinforce that actually it's okay to be that way, because so many times it's a lot of bullshit conditioning that's been reinforced over and over again, and so we only know that that way of being works. So you got to have some space to figure out that other ways of being work, and this is partially our big and main intention in some ways of why having a group like this.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And, it's something I say in every group that I do. Like, I'm against workshop highs. Like, whatever you're doing, if you can't take it away with you and apply it to your actual life, then I'm just supporting the gerbil wheel of healing, like of a different kind of consumption. So definitely a part of this is like, how do we gather these skills that we get to build in a very precise container? How do we gather them and fill ourselves with them so that we can replicate them back in the world where we're needed, where rest and choice, play, and really finding our truest voice are needed, and often overridden very much by ourselves as much as by anybody else. So this is a chance to really find our true yeses and our true nos. Constellation work has a way of asking that of us in a very specific and precise way. And then how we're setting things up, we'll be doing that. So lots of choice. And that may be uncomfortable because sometimes, it's a very feminine programming to not know what we want, or not know how to articulate it, have like an embodied sense of it, but not know how to put it into expression. So I think we're going to have a lot of opportunity to grow through a little bit of discomfort and hopefully a lot of opportunity and sweetness.
Yeah, and I know we just have a few minutes before we're going to hop off, but I just want to give like one maybe meaty, tangible example of the kinds of skills that I'm referring to. So one would be, there's a concept of surrender, for example. We love to talk about surrender, but I think all of us have had that experience of what we might define as a authentic surrender and a collapse, in comparison to like a collapsed surrender, where we basically just give our power over to a situation and we go dead, or we just go along because that feels like flow. And I think we're kind of done with that version of collapsed surrender. And it's something that you can talk about, but you can't actually master that skill until you actually give yourself more opportunities to tune into how it feels when you do a collapsed surrender versus how it feels when you do an authentic surrender, where you're clear that you're standing up straight, that you're actually in your power, and you're leaning back into a greater holding that is serving a part of your nature that you feel aligned with. That's a very different experience energetically. So that's one example, and it will be fun to kind of play with more specific examples of what the weekend can help us learn together.
Yeah.
But from an astrological standpoint, I do just want to add that I will be doing a reading for everyone prior to the retreat. And so I'm encouraging people to sign up early. I'll do those sessions on a rolling basis. One of the reasons why I love being in nature and in the elements is that we all have our own nature and elements. And the astrology chart allows me to look at that composition and then to have dialogue with each person, so that once we show up on site, then you have specific personal ways that you can actually be embracing yourself in that environment that's really customized for what you're here, what you're doing, how you're made, how your architecture as a human being is built in some way, so that your soul can get its needs met within that collective space in a unique way. And that's part, again, of this stretch of these times where, yes, we're moving into this age of Aquarius, but to have a good age of Aquarius, you need to have grounded, intact, solid, healthy individuals. So our commitment is to create an environment in which both of those things can happen, and these negotiations and our capacity to come into a harmonic and a harmony can really be empowered.
I love that. And my little addition, we want our needs met, and to learn how to do that, not to have our needs met, but so that we can show the fuck up in the world as we are needed. Each of us has a way that right this minute you're here with something to bring that is needed and wanted. Getting our needs met is a means to an end. The end is, how can we show up?
I feel like that's the note to end on.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, please reach out to either Lexi or I with any questions at all. We're so excited to keep talking about both resilience, what it means to show up during these times, how do we learn the skills that we need to really operate in new ways, how do we come and build culture from the inside out, and also take care of ourselves, have fun, play on the Oregon coast in a way that really heightens our and nurtures our experiences together as women. So thanks for those of you that watched till the very end. I look forward to seeing y'all in July.
Me too. And I just also want to say, like, aren't we fun?
Oh, you've seen nothing yet.
We love each other and love working together. And it's such a good start to the group. Join us.
Okay, let's see now. Technically, let me see if I can do the final touch here of our closing.